Film First Friday. And before I get into my topic, it's very important that people come from families built off of love. So there's 101 ways to make love without doing it. And number three is making the other person feel important and respected. Oftentimes in a marriage, most people don't feel like they're getting respected or that they are actually important in that actual marriage or relationship. So it's very important that you make sure that the person that you're with feels that they're respected, and also to make sure that they feel that they are important to you and to your family. Now, on to the topic for tonight. My topic is, should parents still make their children go to college right after high school? Okay, so don't forget to like, share, leave a comment on this video. And depending on where you're watching it from, go ahead and subscribe to my actual channel. Then if you got some time, go ahead and check out my online store as well and buy something from there. But enough of all of that, let's get to the video. Okay, so one of the things that has been something that oftentimes parents do in our society is once they get done with high school, they send their kids off to college. They say, hey, the next step for you is for you to actually go to college, get a college education, graduate from college, and then go get you a nice, good paying job, and then start your family, get your home, dog, and a picket fence. Maybe the American dream for some. So this is a custom thing in the United States for people to actually do. But a lot of people in today's society and at this time right now are questioning whether or not that's the actual way that people should actually go. Meaning there's a lot of stuff that happens when people actually do go to college. And then oftentimes, a lot of people may get a degree, any kind of degree, and graduate from college. But once they get that degree and they try to go to work, they can't find a job or a job that pays in the field that they went to school for. And with the lack of them not being able to get a job, they have to do jobs that pay less than what they were planning on getting paid once they graduated from college. And they may do something that has nothing to do with what their degree was in, and then they have to actually pay back the debt that they have built up for paying for their college tuition. Then also too, their parents are probably helping them to pay off that loan as well, because the parents most likely co-sign it on that loan with them so that they can go ahead and take the loan out to actually make their school tuition payments. So now they have to pay that back, and then typically it may take people up from 10 to 20 plus years or more to actually pay off the student loans that they built up from college. And then a lot of people would complain and say that definitely even those who graduate from college still have a tough time finding a good paying job. And when that happens, they set themselves back financially because they still have this college tuition that is on their credit. And if they stop paying it, then their credit goes down as well too. So these are just some of the reasons why people question whether or not they should send their kids to college right after high school. But I guess on the flip side, people will question, what will they actually do if you don't send them off to college? Now, also another thing that a lot of people have been looking into and seeing is that a lot of times, a lot of young people actually don't actually graduate, and they end up being dropouts, and they drop out of school. Oftentimes, some of them don't make it past 2 semesters or possibly even 3 before something happens and they have to actually drop out. It could be due to them actually not having good grades, so their grades go down, they get put on probation, and then after being on probation, they still don't do good, and then eventually they have to sit out a semester. They go back, try to get things right, and then they still don't do good, so then they have to actually drop out. And then this leaves them having to pay back that money that they borrowed, even though they're not actually finishing college. So they still got paid back what they actually owe for the time that they were actually in. So this sets them back and sets them a little bit behind. And some of the things that happens to a lot of them that causes them to actually possibly drop out are some of these things like partying. A lot of people, once they get onto a college campus, they are able to party and they can stay up all night as long as they actually want to. There's not anybody there in terms of their own adult. So there's no adult there to tell them like that you used to possibly when they were in high school. Hey, get up, get to school. Hey, go to sleep, get some rest. Hey, you gotta be up for school in the morning. If nobody's there to tell them that, then they have to actually do it for themselves. And oftentimes, a lot of young people aren't actually ready to do that on their actual self or for their self. So they fall behind because they are doing too much partying. And since they have the freedom to do so, they party all night and they think they're going to get up in the morning for classes, and they rarely actually do. Then another thing that happens to them is they're free to do what they want as far as relationships and who they want to date, who they actually want to see. They can stay up all night with their boyfriend or girlfriend as long as they want. Their boyfriend and their girlfriend can come over. They can sleep with them and be with them as long as they want to. They have no one there to tell them, hey, that boy got to go home. Hey, that girl got to get up out my house. Hey, get off that phone. They don't have that. So then they have the freedom to do that. So then oftentimes some people get into a bad relationship and it ruins how they think mentally, and they sit around thinking about him or her instead of thinking about their actual studies and them actually getting their schoolwork done. Then too, some may end up getting pregnant and having to drop out possibly because they have a baby on the way or that they actually have a baby. And so these things definitely affect students, and this is some of the leading causes why people actually drop out. But then also too, some people are able to be on time to classes. Some people aren't out there partying and doing all the wild stuff out there, but they still end up failing, and that's because they just aren't as smart as you actually thought they were. So maybe this was a person that barely made it into college, and now that they're there at college, they're finding out that it's not like high school and it's not as easy, and you actually do have to go home and you do have to actually study. So therefore, a lot of them end up dropping out just off of the basis that the work and the things that they have to do and study is just too hard. All right, so the number one reason that people say, hey, I don't know about sending my kids to a university or a college right after high school is because even if they actually do graduate and they stay the 4 or possibly 5 years, or some people maybe 6 years of college, then they have a huge amount of debt that they actually occur or that they have at the end of them actually graduating. And oftentimes, a lot of parents don't want to have their kids go into a whole lot of debt financially due to them actually going to school, because these things will affect them. Because let's just say they go and they don't get a good paying job, or they can't really find a job, or even thinking about how things are going in today's society right now, as they constantly keep saying that a lot of jobs are going to get replaced by AI. So therefore, people are looking at this and saying, hey, is it worth it for my actual kid to go to school to make money that they're not going to be able to actually make once they actually graduate. And then they're going to be behind because they have to catch up and figure out a way to catch up so that they can actually pay off the debt that they have incurred. So, this is one of the things that a lot of people say: instead of letting my son or daughter go to college and racking up a whole lot of debt, I'll take them away from doing that and I'll have them do something else and build money in another way. So, oftentimes, a lot of people will actually do this instead of actually sending their kids off to school. Now, I can definitely disagree with this method, and I can actually agree with this method because it may be beneficial for you to actually do that with your actual kid. But then, too, there are certain ways that you can go about making sure that they get a degree that's going to help them to actually get paid, and it's going to help them to actually possibly do something bigger and better with their actual life. So I wouldn't just put school out and just say, hey, no, you know what, going to school is not a good thing, and going to college and a university after high school is not good. I wouldn't definitely not recommend that you just rule it out. But I would say that there should be some things that you should look at in terms of sending your kid to a university and seeing if they're actually ready for it. But without me saying too much, I think it's best that I put this in a part 2 so I could break down the good things as far as sending your kids out to a university or college right after high school. So I'll break that down on next week. But this has been another Film First Friday. Alright, so also some good games to just watch over the weekend. Definitely you want to look at on Saturday, LSU versus Florida. I'm going with LSU because they're at home. Then you have Clemson versus Georgia Tech. This should be a good one. Kind of wanted to go with Georgia Tech, but I'm going to go with Clemson. For some reason, I feel like they're going to pull it out. Then you got Georgia versus Tennessee, and I'm going to go with Georgia. Even though Tennessee is at home, I feel like I know a little bit more as far as what Georgia may do. So I'm going with Georgia to beat Tennessee. Then Miami versus South Florida. I'm going to go with the Hurricanes, Miami, to beat South Florida. Then last but not least, in college, Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. This should be a good game. Yeah, I'm going to go with Notre Dame because they're at home. Going to the NFL, 5 games I think you should check out. Definitely the Colts versus the Broncos. Both of them are undefeated, and I'm going to ride on the Colts bandwagon, and they will win this. Then you got the Eagles versus the Chiefs. And I know everybody is big on the Eagles right now, and I kind of feel that same way, but Kansas City's playing at home. I'm going with the Chiefs. Then you have the Ravens versus the Browns. This should be a good game. 2 teams that don't like each other, but I'm going to go with the Ravens over the Browns. Bears and Lions, 2 division rivals, and I'm going to go with the Lions to win this one. And then a pair of 2 undefeated teams going against each other, the Bengals versus the Jaguars. I'm going with the Bengals to beat up the Jaguars. Now, ultimately, whether or not your kid decides to go to college after high school, or whether or not you want them to or not, ultimately it will be their decision as far as what they actually want to do with their actual life. And then as a parent, you should try to support them in the best way that you can and hope for the best for your actual kids. And hopefully they can get things done and be successful after they're done with college. But as always, families are like branches. We grow apart, but together we stand out.